Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave
Acharya Shruta Sadasi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It's an honor to be amongst ISKCON Brampton devotees again, especially in the month of Kartik. So as you know, Kartik month started on Friday, October 18th, and it will be up to November 17th this year. And our Acharyas recommend many vows to be undertaken by all of us during the month of Kartik, so that it will accelerate our spiritual consciousness. And some of the vrat that are recommended are to chant extra rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to give charity, and to sing the Damodarashtakam by offering ghee lamp or sesame oil lamp to Lord Damodar, and also to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So these are some of the vrat that are recommended during the month of Kartik. And Damodarashtakam, as we know, Damodar, Dama means rope and Uddara means waist or belly. So the Lord whose waist was tied with the rope is Lord Damodar. And Ashtaka means 8 verses. We have heard about many Ashtakas like Jagannath Ashtakam. So 8 verses glorifying Lord Jagannath. Then we know Guru Ashtakam, 8 verses glorifying the spiritual master. Then we have Shikshashtakam, 8 verses glorifying the instructions that is given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and so on. So that is Damodarashtakam. And Damodarashtakam is found in the Padma Puran, that is one of the 18 Puranas. And as Prabhupada taught us, these 18 Puranas can be put into 3 different groups. For the people in the mode of goodness, for people in the mode of passion, and people in the mode of ignorance. And this Padma Puran falls in the category for the people in the mode of goodness. So this Padma Puran, so it is found in the Padma Puran. It is spoken by Satyavrata Muni in a conversation with Narada Muni and Shaunaka Rishi. So it is recommended that we sing Damodarashtakam every day, if possible twice a day, during the month of Kartik. And as we heard, it is very important that we hear the leelas or the pastimes of the Lord during the month of Kartik. And we will try to understand what do we mean by hearing, because it's one of the 9 forms of devotional services. Actually, it's the first of the 9 forms of devotional services that are given to us by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedanam. So these are the 9 forms of devotional services, and the first of the 9 form is hearing. So we'll try to understand what do we mean by hearing, what do we have to hear in terms of this devotional service, how we have to hear, again from Srila Prabhupada's teaching, and what do we get when we hear. That is important. What do we get when we hear the Leelas of the Lord. And also, there is a wonderful book by the name of Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sri Sanatan Goswami. We'll also try to read a few of the quotations that are compiled by Sanatan Goswami from Skanda Puran and Padma Puran with regard to glories or the benedictions that one gets when they hear the pastimes of the Lord, especially during the month of Kartik, as we are doing today. So, hearing means, according to Srila Prabhupada, who's given us, in terms of these 9 forms of devotional service, hearing means not hearing the Gramya Katha or the Prajalpas or the rumors. All that is sometimes nectarian for some of us, but hearing is mentioned, hearing the glories of the Lord, hearing the names of the Lord, hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So that is what is meant by hearing. The next is, how do we have to hear the names, glories and pastimes of the Lord? How do we have to hear that? We have to hear that with our heart. So how do we hear the pastimes and the glories and the names of the Lord with the heart? Of course, we have to hear it through our ears, but then we'll have to feel it so that we take shelter of the subject matter and we get protection from hearing from these pastimes. So we have to hear it with our heart according to Srila Prabhupada. And the next is, what do we gain by hearing the pastimes of the Lord? So when we hear the pastimes of the Lord, from Srimad Bhagavatam we get to hear Srinvatam Swa Katha Krsna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Even when we have the desire to hear the Lord's pastimes, so even if we don't hear the pastimes, so we want to come to ISKCON Brampton to hear the pastimes of the Lord, but we can't, we want to go, but we are sick, we can't go. So that is good enough. Even if we have the urge or the inclination to hear the pastimes of the Lord, then Paramatma in our heart cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from our heart. And the desire for material enjoyment is what keeps us in this wheel of samsara. So even when we just have the urge to hear the pastimes of the Lord, the desire for material enjoyment is cleansed from our heart. So that's what happens when we hear or when we are eager to hear the pastimes of the Lord. And there's a very famous quote in the 10th canto where Sutta Goswami is instructing Shaunaka Rishi. So we just heard about Shaunaka Rishi because this Damodarashtakam was spoken to Shaunaka Rishi and Narada Muni by Satyavrata Muni. So in this verse it is said, in Kali Yuga, the remedies for all the material miseries are hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So the remedies for all the material miseries in Kali Yuga are hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Now what happens when we hear the pastimes of the Lord? When we hear the pastimes of the Lord, we have different degrees of lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion in the core of our heart. All of us do have in different degrees. Now, this contamination or unwanted anarthas in the core of our heart cannot be taken out by taking a nice bath with the best soap that we have. This is not like the dirt or contamination that we have outside of our body. Nor it is like the toxins that we have inside the body which can potentially be taken out by detoxification. But we are talking about subtle contamination of lust and greed and envy and so on that can only be taken out according to Srila Prabhupada by hearing and chanting. So when we hear the pastimes of the Lord, automatically all the unwanted contamination, the anarthas go away from our heart. So that is one of the main advantages when we hear, or the byproducts when we hear, the anarthas are taken out. And when we hear the great wonderful pastimes of the Lord, it not only pleases our senses, but it nourishes the soul, which is the root of our existence. So there are so many byproducts of hearing the glories of the Lord. And the pastimes of the Lord, as you know, are always fresh. When we read Bhagavad Gita, the same verse we read again and again, the same verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, when we read again and again, it's always fresh. That's the mystery. For example, Janmashtami, the appearance of the Lord, every year we hear the pastimes on Janmashtami day, but it's always so fresh. It's a mystery. Every word it is said from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita contains the entire Srimad Bhagavatam and entire Bhagavad Gita in it. If you think about it, it's like a zip file that we have. If we get a zip file sent to us, When we click that zip file, it explodes and many new folders come with so many new information there. We click each one of those folders, many more folders expand, and so much more information keeps coming from there. It is also like a well, when you take more water from the well, more water keeps coming from the well. Or like Akshaya Patra, when you take, it's never exhausting. So the pastimes of the Lord are always fresh and it's dynamic. It's always new information that we get from the pastimes of the Lord. And so there are so many byproducts of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, and also especially during the month of Kartik. Again, I would like to read some quotes from Hari Bhakti Vilas. The first one is, I'm going to read only the English translation. Those who hear the topics of Lord Hari with great devotion in a regulated manner during the month of Kartik will achieve the merit of donating 100 cows in charity. Next quote. O lion-like sage, one who glorifies the names, forms, qualities and pastimes of Lord Hari during the month of Kartik, whether for his ultimate benefit or with some material motive, will deliver 100 generations of his family. Just by hearing the pastimes of the Lord during Kartik, you can deliver 100 generations of your family. Couple more. O lion among sages, one who hears discussions of Lord Hari during the month of Kartik will be freed from all suffering during the next 10, it's not 10 minutes, not 10 hours, 10 days, next 10 million lifetimes. So just by hearing the pastimes of the Lord. And last one, O sage, during the month of Kartik, if a person daily recites even a single sloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam with great devotion, he will attain the merit of studying the 18 Puranas in their entirety. So these are all some of the glories of hearing the pastimes of the Lord at any time, and especially during the month of Kartik. And there are a total of 64 forms of devotional service, as we know. 9 is given by Prahlad Maharaj, and 64 is given to us by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and 1 is to follow the Kartik Vrat. So the vows that we take during the month of Kartik, to chant the extra rounds, to sing the Damodarashtaka, to offer the ghee or sesame lamp oil to the Lord, and to hear the pastimes of the Lord during the month of Kartik are all part of the 64, is one of the 64 forms of devotional service to the Lord. So now that we know what one gets by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, today I would like to narrate one of the glorious pastimes of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is said that if we especially hear and read from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very auspicious during the month of Kartik. So today I would like to narrate a wonderful pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the reason why we have chosen this particular pastime is that this particular pastime took place during the month of Kartik as well. So before I narrate this pastime, I would like to seek the blessings of Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and as well as all the assembled devotees who are gathered here. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I would like to offer my respectful obeisances unto him and to all the members of the Guru Parampara. Vancha kalpatirubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, fulfilling the desires of everyone, and are full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. Hare Krishna. So, this particular pastime is from the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It spans over 5 huge chapters for over 240 verses. And this is a pastime where the Devatas and Asuras together, collaboratively, were able to churn from the ocean of milk the nectar. And there are so many lessons to be learned from this wonderful pastime, and we'll try to hear that probably at the end of today's class, or close to the end of today's class as well. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, and to Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, goddess of learning, and to Vyasadev, the author. Nashta prayesva patreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regularly attending classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to a pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the Lord is established as an irrevocable fact in the heart. Hare Krishna. So, this wonderful pastime, the underlying cause or the trigger for this pastime of churning the ocean of milk to get the nectar was when Lord Indra was actually going on an elephant carrier. And before we actually go into the actual pastime, another reason why this particular pastime was chosen is that Lord Krishna says twice in Bhagavad Gita, one in the last verse of the 9th chapter and also in the 65th verse of the 18th chapter, Manmanabhav Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mam Evashisi. So almost 2.5 lines are the same. So here Krishna is instructing Arjuna, and through Arjuna to us, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer obeisances. So in this particular pastime, we can always think of Lord Krishna. Every minute of this pastime, we will be thinking of Lord Krishna, because this pastime is so unique that there are 2 incarnations of the Lord appearing in the same pastime. So it's very, very unique. 2 incarnations of the Lord appearing in the same pastime. One is Kurma Avatar, the avatar of tortoise, and Mohini Murti Avatar, the most beautiful women in the whole of universe. So 2 incarnations of the Lord appeared in the same pastime, as well as 4 other incarnations of the Lord play a pivotal role in this particular pastime. One is Shirodakashaya Vishnu. One is the second incarnation of the Lord is called as Ajita. Ajita means unconquerable one. And the third is a 1,000-arm form of the Lord who will be holding this Mandara mountain, you'll hear in the next few minutes. And the 4th incarnation of the Lord is Mukunda, who will be actually chosen as the husband of Goddess of Fortune when Goddess of Fortune manifested from this ocean of milk. So far we know there are 2 incarnations of the Lord appearing in the same pastime. There are 4 other incarnations of the Lord playing a pivotal role in this pastime. So that's 2 plus 4. But that's not the end. There are 9 representations of the Lord also playing a key role in this particular pastime. So what do you mean by representations of the Lord? The representations of the Lord are Indra, Lord Brahma. We'll understand or hear why they are representations of the Lord. So Lord Indra, then we have Lord Brahma, we have Bali Maharaj, then we have Garuda, we have Vasuki the snake, then we have Surabhi the cow, Uchchaishrava the horse, then we have Airavata the elephant, and we also have Lord Shiva there. So all of them are actually more than representations of the Lord, because in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, amongst the birds I am Garuda. So Lord Krishna identifies him as Indra, as Lord Brahma, as Bali Maharaj, not just once, not just in Bhagavad Gita, but also in the 16th chapter of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, almost the same is repeated. So we have 2 incarnations manifesting or appearing in this pastime, plus 4 other incarnations playing a key role in this pastime, plus there are at least 9 representations of Lord Krishna in this pastime. So wherever we hear every minute of this pastime, we can't but think of Lord Krishna. So this is a wonderful pastime where we can always think of Lord Krishna. So again, the trigger or the underlying cause is that Indra is going along the road, because there are roads also in the higher planetary system, which we read from the 8th canto. So when he's going along, there is Durvasa Muni there. Durvasa Muni is well known for his fiery temperament. He's always angry. Durvasa Muni. So there are various pastimes which gives this indication. Durvasa Muni is always difficult to please and he is angry. Now, he gives a wonderful garland to Indra who's passing along. So, Durvasa Muni is walking along and he gives a wonderful garland to Indra. And Indra is one of the most wealthiest person in the universe, as we know. He's the king of heavens and he's one of the most powerful. He's one of the most learned. So, it is said that he was intoxicated in pride, and when the garland is given to him, garland is Maha Prasad, so it is coming from a great devotee, Durvasa Muni. And who's Durvasa Muni? Durvasa Muni is the son of Atri and Anasuya. Atri Muni is the son of Lord Brahma, and he was born from the eyes of Lord Brahma. And who are the two exalted brothers of Durvasa Muni? Durvasa Muni has got two brothers. One is the moon god as well as Dattatreya. Dattatreya is one of the incarnations of the Lord. That is Durvasa Muni's own brother. Datta means son and Atriya means son of Atriya. So he's coming from an exalted family. That means his grandfather is Lord Brahma and his brother is one of the Supreme Personality of God, expansions of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when he gives, so his garland is Maha Prasad. So here it is given to Indra, and Indra is intoxicated in pride, takes it, and he did not value this Maha Prasad, so he puts it on the trunk of the elephant. An elephant, being an elephant, did not know the value of this Maha Prasad, and it throws that garland down and it tramples the garland and walks out. And Indra did not even realize that, but Durvasa Muni realizes that. So immediately Durvasa Muni curses Indra and every other demigod as well to lose all material prosperity. So it is said, if you remember, there is an amazing verse, wonderful verse in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by Queen Kunti, directly to Lord Krsna. Janmaishwarya Shruta Shibir, Edamana Madapuman, Naivarati Abhidyatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. Akinchana is a very important word. Kinchana means something, Akinchana means nothing. So here, Queen Kunti is praying to Lord Krsna, my dear Lord, your lordship can be easily attained, but by only those who are materially exhausted. One who is in this path of respectable parentage, one who is in this path of opulence, one who is in the path of bodily beauty, one who is in this path of high education cannot attain you. But only when somebody is materially exhausted, one who is akinchana, then they can attain you. But Indra was not in that particular platform. He was intoxicated in pride. There are many verses giving the same message. There's a wonderful verse from the 4th canto as well. Na bhajati kumani sanam sahijyam harihara ratma dhanapriya rasatya sutadana kula karmana maderi vidati papam akinchanesu satsu. Again, the same word akinchanesu satsu is there. So here also it is said, Lord Krishna is extremely pleased by one who possesses devotional service but not material possession. So it's the same meaning here. So when it is said, Prabhupada explains this, when it is said that one who does not possess any material possession, that does not mean that one has to have zero bank balance or one should not have a house. No, that's not what it is meant. There are great devotees like Yudhishthir Maharaj, King Prataparutra during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. So all of them had the whole kingdom, but they lived their life like akinchanesu. So that means they realize that whatever they have is not theirs. Everything belongs to Lord Krishna. So that means they don't have anything. Even though they have everything, they don't have anything. So here, because Indra was intoxicated in pride, he lost everything because of the curse by Durvasa Muni. So in due course of time, the demons, asuras, came with nagapashas, snake weapons, and they destroyed the demigods. Now, the demigods are killed. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, so I want to repeat this, what you hear is right. The demigods, many of them, are killed in the higher planetary system. So that might be a shock to some of us. Demigods being killed by asuras. Now, when you think about it, all of us, or many of us, are coming from different countries, from India, from Sri Lanka, different countries. And 25, 30 years, 40 years ago, we may have thought all our material problems will go away. Probably if you go to a country like Canada, if you go to a country like USA, all our material miseries will go away. Now fast forward 5 years, 30 years from 25 years ago. Now we are here. Did all our material miseries go? Did all our problems go? Some of them have been changed, but still we do have different types of problems. There is no permanent solution to material miseries by going from one place to another place. So similarly, there is karma kanda practice that Srila Prabhupada explained. So devotees can go to higher planetary system like Indra Loka too. But what happens? So we may think that Indra Loka is all full of pleasure and everything else, but from Bhagavad Gita we read that it is temporary. We'll have to come back here, and even there it's not pleasurable, because we read that the demigods are getting killed by demons in the higher planetary system. So they are getting killed by demons, and whomsoever is left behind, they go to the top of Mount Sumeru. Now Mount Sumeru, we read from the 5th canto, it's 1 million kilometers. So they have the power. They go to the top of Mount Sumeru, and that's where they meet Lord Brahma. Because when we have a problem at work, all of us work. So when we have a problem with work, you can't go to the CEO of the company directly. You got to go through proper channel. You go to your manager, and your manager may go to the general manager may go to the CEO. So here they go to Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma hears their problem, and he says, I myself, I am born, I appear from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. I appear from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the living entities are either born from egg or embryo or seed or perspiration. So when we think about it, every living entity is either born from these 4 categories: egg or embryo or seed. So trees and they are born from the seeds. Eggs, all the birds are born from eggs. Then embryo, human beings and some of the animals are born from embryo. And it is also said that bed bugs are born from perspiration, according to Vedic literature. So he says, all of us are born from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I cannot solve your problem. So let's go to Kshirodakashai Vishnu, to ocean of milk, to the shores of ocean of milk. Now this is in Svetadvivi, and this is also, Prabhupada says, it is in the material world, but it is still Parampadam. It is still spiritual. So they all go to the ocean of milk. Now if you're wondering, what is this ocean of milk? I know saltwater ocean, I know Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, all these oceans are there. But from Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, we read that there are more oceans other than the saltwater oceans. So the first ocean is, not in any particular order, ocean of milk, ocean of yogurt, ocean of clarified butter, which is ghee, ocean of salt water, so they do have salt water ocean also in the higher planetary system, ocean of sweet water, ocean of sugarcane juice. Just imagine a huge ocean just for sugarcane juice. And the ocean of liquor is also there. So there are many, many oceans in the higher planetary system that we read from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, they go to Svetadvip to pray to Kshirodakashai Vishnu. They pray the Purusha Shuktam mantra, and also wonderful prayers are offered by Lord Brahma. Now Prabhupada's purport is very, very critical in every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, and here Prabhupada says, we cannot just pray to the Lord in whatever way we think or whatever way we want. We cannot just imagine something and pray to the Lord. My dear Lord, you are the greatest because you gave me a promotion last week. Or my dear Lord, you are the greatest because you will give me money next week. That's not the way we pray. So Srila Prabhupada says there is a way that we pray to the Lord, and that has to be the way that the Acharyas have prayed in the past. So that is how we pray. So it has to be bona fide. It has to be prayers that was already established in the Vedic literature. So that's the prayers. So Srila Prabhupada says at least we should know 2 prayers as a bare minimum. One is Panchatattva mantra, which is Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. And the second one, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Brahma offers wonderful prayers which are bona fide. And what does he say? Start off by saying, my dear Lord, you are the source of everything. And Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken 5,000 years ago, but it was previously spoken from the purport of the first verse of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We know that Bhagavad Gita, the science of devotional service, was spoken by Lord Krishna to Vivaswan, the sun god, 120 million years ago. So the same Bhagavad Gita, or the essence, was spoken 120 million years ago. So here when Lord Brahma is praying, you are the source of everything. Lord Sri Krishna has already explained that in Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarva pravartate. I am the source of material world. I am the source of spiritual world. So it is bona fide. He is not praying something that he thinks that is the right prayer. The second one, Lord Brahma says, you are in the heart of all living entities. And Lord Krishna at least twice in Bhagavad Gita says that Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. The 15th verse of the 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matta smriti dhyanam. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, and also Ishvara Sarva Bhutana Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtati. So at least twice Lord Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart, and Lord Brahma is praying to the Lord that you are seated in everyone's heart. So see the correlation between the prayer and what is bona fide. And the third, Lord Brahma is praying, you are the illumination of the entire universe. And again, this is an established fact in our Vedic literature, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, as well as in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Aya Andakara, Yahan Krishna Nahantai, Maya Adhikara. So Krishna is compared to sunlight, and Maya is compared to darkness. Whenever there is sunlight, there is no chance of darkness being there. And also, the last verse of the Chaturshloki, Tesam Evanukam Partham, Aham Ajnana Jantamaha. So in that it says Deepam. So this is the month of Kartik where we offer a lot of Deepam. So Krishna removes the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. So these are wonderful prayers by Lord Brahma. And he also says when Lord Krishna is satisfied, everyone else is satisfied. The Yathatarur Mula Nishchanena verse. When Lord is satisfied, everyone else is satisfied. So these are bona fide prayers that Lord Brahma offers to Kshirodakashayi Vishnu in Svetadip, and the Lord appears. And Srila Prabhupada teaches us, if we offer heartfelt prayers to the Lord will appear. The Lord will answer our calls, guaranteed. And so many examples that we can read from Srimad Bhagavatam as well, when King Gajendra the elephant, who was Indradumna in the previous life, 1,000 years he's struggling with this crocodile, who was King Uhu in the previous life. And then finally he remembers all these wonderful verses that he from the previous life as King Indradumna, and he offers those wonderful prayers, and immediately the Lord appears in Garuda and sears the head of King Uhu, who was the crocodile, and he's saved. And similarly, Mother Diti offers wonderful prayers to the Lord, and then the Lord appeared as Lord Vamanadev, if you remember. And also, Mother Bhumi and Lord Brahma offer wonderful prayers, and that's how Lord Krishna appeared in this Swayam Rupa as Lord Krishna. So when wonderful prayers are offered, the Lord will appear. That is what Srila Prabhupada teaches us. And when these wonderful prayers are offered by Lord Brahma along with the Devatas, the Lord appears as simultaneous rising. It says in Srimad Bhagavatam, as simultaneous rising of 1,000 suns. Simultaneous rising of 1,000 suns. So glaring for all the demigods. And then it is explained how the Lord appeared. So the Lord appears in this blackish blue complexion, beautiful lotus eyes, beautiful lotus face, and he's got this Kastuba jewel. So the explanation of the Lord's appearance is wonderfully explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Lord not only gives the process to circumvent this problem, but also the prediction of what is going to happen when the Devatas follow his instruction. So the Lord instructs the Devatas that have a peace with the Asuras for higher cause. So have peace with the Asuras for higher cause. Churn the ocean of milk with Mount Mandara as the churning rod, and use the snake Vasuki as the rope. And he also instructs the Devatas, already the ocean of milk has vegetables, grass, creepers and drugs already in it. So use this Mandara mountain and Vasuki and churn the ocean of milk. And he gives wonderful explanation, instructions, and which will be relevant to all of us later on. We'll connect this. So I would like you to pay attention to the instructions that Kshirodakashayi Vishnu gave to the Devatas. Said, churn the ocean of milk with undiverted attention. Have patience and peace, and do not be agitated by anger, and do not be greedy for the wonderful things that come out from the ocean of milk, and also do not fear when poison comes out from the ocean of milk, which is hala hala or kalakuta poison. So the prediction is there, what is going to happen in the future, and the Lord is guiding the Devatas. Have patience and peace. Do not be agitated by anger. So all that is going to be relevant to all of us, this instruction. So we'll connect it in the next few minutes. And also the Lord instructs the Devatas, use the snake and mouse logic. So we may not have time to go through that. Maybe in the question answer section we can go through that. So Lord himself, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, instructs Devatas, use the snake and mouse logic and follow my instructions. Do not fear when halala kalakuta poison comes out, but churn the ocean of milk with the Mount Mandara as the churning rod and Vasuki as the rope. And then the Devatas go, headed by Indra and Varuna, they go to meet Bali Maharaj, because Bali Maharaj and the demons are very powerful at this point in time. When they go and meet Bali Maharaj, even though they have captured the 3 planetary system, the Asuras, still they are mortal. They want to be immortal, because this nectar makes anybody who drinks this immortal. Now, we have to remember, immortal means not permanently immortal, but extended duration of life. So this is given. So why is this? Because A Brahma Bhuvana Loka, in the 16th verse of the 8th chapter, it is said, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravarti Norjuna Mamu Peteti Kaunteya Punarjanma Na Vidyate. So from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery where repeated birth and death takes place. So here Lord Krishna is confirming, it does not matter whether you are in Swargaloka or higher planetary system, as they are ocean of milk. Even in Brahmaloka, it's not permanent, because Lord Brahma also has an expiry date, and that is 311 trillion and 40 billion years. So nobody can live eternally, but then their life, when it is said immortal, our Acharya has explained that they have extended lifespan, but still they will die at a particular point in time. So they have captured the 3 planetary system, but then still they will have to die, but they want to extend their life. So Bali Maharaj and the demons accept this truth, and they say, yes, why don't we jointly do this? Because just by the Asuras or just by the Devatas, they cannot do this monumental task of churning the ocean of milk. So they agree to that. But just when the Asuras, Devas went to meet the Asuras, all the Asuras tried to kill the Devatas, even though they came to talk to them. But then Bali Maharaj, they have a code of ethics. They said, no, you cannot kill. They didn't come for a fight here. If you remember, even in Mahabharata, when the Kauravas and the Pandavas were fighting, during the evenings, they don't kill each other, they are friendly. So here, he said, no, Bali Maharaj said, you cannot kill the Devatas, they came to talk. So, they left them alone, and then they agreed to go through this process that was recommended to churn the ocean of milk to get the nectar. So the first process is the Devatas and the Asuras together, they go to uproot the Mandara mountain. Now Mandara mountain, for us to know how tall it is, we have to go to the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is said Mandara mountain, it is given in yojanas. So when you convert it into miles, which is 8 multiplied by 8, so it is said this Mandara mountain is 80,000 miles in height. 80,000 miles. It's mind-boggling for us to imagine this, because all we know is Mount Everest. The tallest mount that we know is Mount Everest, and that is 7.8 kilometers in height. Now we are talking about 80,000 miles in height. And in the 5th canto, it also says that it is made of gold. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport says, gold is heavier than stone. So it is much heavier than what a stone mountain of 80,000 miles height would be. So the Devatas and the Asuras go to uproot this Mount Mandara, And you can count the number of times the Lord helps the Devatas and the Asuras. So from now on, let's try to count that. So here, they approved this Mandara mountain, which is 80,000 miles high. And it's so heavy, even for the so strong Devatas and the Asuras, they cannot carry this mountain. And many of them, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, they break their shoulder, they break the arms, and many of them get crushed under the mountain because they suddenly drop it, and many of these Devatas and Asuras are underneath the mountain and they get crushed and die. So first time, we heard this shocking thing that the Devatas can get killed in the higher planetary system by Asuras, and now second time we hear that the Devatas are again getting killed by this heavy mountain that is falling on them. They get fractured too. The arms are breaking, legs are breaking. It's exactly stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. And now who comes to help them? The Lord comes to help them. Let's start counting. So this time the Lord comes. He effortlessly lifts Mandara mountain that is made of gold, which is 80,000 miles high, and then places it effortlessly on Garuda. If you remember the 9 expansions or representations of the Lord, one was Garuda. And just imagine, none of the demigods or all the demigods together and all the Devatas and the Asuras together cannot lift this Mount Mandara. But here, Garuda is actually holding the whole mountain in its back. And the Lord revives the lives of the Devatas and the Asuras who lost their life there. And for Lord, lifting the mountain is not very difficult. When he was 7 years old, he was able to lift the mountain for 7 days and 7 nights. So here he's lifting this mountain effortlessly, placing it on Garuda, and he's reviving the lives of the Devatas and Asuras who are dead. And again, that is something that we hear very often in Srimad Bhagavatam, because Lord Krsna brought back the dead son of Sandipani Muni from Yamaraj's abode. Lord Krsna brought back the dead 6 elder brothers from Sutala planet. And also we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revived the son of Shivas. So there are so many pastimes where the Lord can easily revive somebody who's dead. So here the Lord revives the lives of the dead Asuras and Devatas, carries them on to Garuda along with this Mount Mandara that is already there, and then goes to the shores of Ocean of Milk. They place the Mount Mandara on the Ocean of Milk, and Lord says to Garuda, please leave. Why is that? Because they are going to summon Vasuki the snake, because when the snake is there, Garuda will eat Vasuki. So the Lord sends Garuda off, and then Vasuki is summoned, and Vasuki is used as the churning, the rope to churn the Mandara mountain in the Ocean of Milk. Now the Devatas take to the head of the snake. They take the position near the head of the snake, and the demons take to the tail of the snake. And what did the demons say? How can we be to the inauspicious side of the snake? We are so learned. We have to be into the front end of the snake. So you'll know what is the disadvantage later on. So Ajita, who's one of the personality of God that we heard before. So 2 incarnations appear in this particular wonderful pastime, and there are 4 other incarnations who play a pivotal role. So one is Ajita, which means unconquerable one. So Ajita is the head of he headed these demigods, and they said, it's okay, if you are all learned, no problem, come to the front end of the snake, we'll go to the tail end of the snake, even if you think it is inauspicious. So they go there. So now the Mandara mountain is placed in the Ocean of Milk. Now Vasuki is used as the churning the rod, which is Mandara mountain. The demigods are going to the tail end of this Vasuki, and the demons are in the front end of the snake, and the churning is starting. What happens? So the Lord helps everybody the first time by carrying the mountain. Now, because of this heavy weight of the mountain is sinking into the Ocean of Milk. They are unable to do anything. Even though they are strong, they are pulling it from each side, the mountain is actually sinking because of the weight. So the Lord helps them the second time. He assumes the form of tortoise, Kurma Avatar. So that is how Kurma Avatar appeared. So he appeared as 800,000 miles, as a big island. Lord Kurma appeared, and on him the Mount Mandara now rested. And when the churning was going on, it is said that he felt a pleasurable sensation like scratching the back. Such a huge mountain for Lord Kurma. Kurma is the second avatar in the famous Dasavatar that we know of. Dasavatar Stotra by Jayadev Goswami, and the wonderful 10 avatars, 10 Leela avatars are depicted there in the, I think the last verse or penultimate verse of the Dasavatar Stotra. Vedan Uddarate Jagati Vate Bhulokam Udviprate Daityam Dharayate Balim Chalayate Chatrashayam Purvate Paulachyam Jayate Halam Kalayate Karunyam Matanvate Mlechan Morchayate. So these are the 10 avatars, famous Leela avatars, and they are Matsavatyar, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Varaha Avatar, Narsimha Avatar, Vamana Avatar, then we have Lord Parshuram, then we have Lord Ramachandra, then you have Lord Balaram, then we have Lord Buddha, and then Kalki Avatar who's yet to come. So here, Kurma Avatar is manifested and the whole Mandara mountain is resting. So the Lord is at the bottom now, and now the churning is starting. So now the nectar should come. But we are still long way from the nectar to come, because what happens is now Vasuki the snake is about to die, because they are pulling Vasuki from both sides, and this Mandara mountain is so big and the churning is going on and Vasuki is about to die. And the Lord again helps by entering into the Devatas, into the Asuras, and into the Vasuki the snake as the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, and gives them energy actually in this example, and they're all getting the vigor. So this is the third time the Lord is helping. First is lifting the Mandara mountain. Second is becoming the Kurma avatar so that the mountain does not sink. Third one is to give energy for the Devatas, Asuras, and for Vasuki. And now the churning is continuing. Now, as the churning is continuing, now the Vasukis, the snake, is very energetic, and so are the demons and the demigods. As they start churning, what happens? The mountain, Mandara mountain, is tilting now. There is support at the bottom, but there is no support on the top. The mountain is sinking. So the Lord again appears as the 1,000-arm form, and the Lord is holding the top of the mountain now. So now the Lord is at the bottom as Kurma avatar, the Lord is at the top as the 1,000-arm avatar, and the Lord is in the body of the Devatas, Asuras, and the Vasuki the snake, and the mode of passion, goodness, and ignorance. And now the churning is continuing. Now what happens? Before, Vasuki was actually very weak. Now Vasuki's got so much power and energy that so much fire is emanating from the 1,000 mouths of Vasuki. Now who's in the front end of the snake now? Remember before, Ajita and all the demigods were in the front end. But Asura said, we are so learned, we cannot be in the inauspicious side, and the demigods moved to the inauspicious side. So now the demons are close to the mouth, and from the 1,000 mouths, so much of fire is emanating from Vasuki, and many of these demons are dying. And in Srimad Bhagavatam it is said like the burned pine trees. All these demons are almost dying, and some of them died. And then what does the Lord do? Again the Lord helps, probably fourth or fifth time. Anybody keeping account? So the Lord helps them again by sending wonderful clouds, and there's so much of rain that is pouring down, and it's dousing the fire that is emanating from the 1,000 mouths of Vasuki. And there is and the Lord, and then the churning continues. Now everything should be fine, because the Lord is on top as the 1,000-arm form holding the tip of the mountain. The Lord is at the bottom in the form of Kurma avatar. The Lord is also inside the body of Asuras, Devatas, and Vasuki, and the churning is going on. The fire is put out. Nothing happens. The churning is continuing vigorously, but nothing happens. And Ajita, the unconquerable incarnation of the Lord, even though he's in the back end of the Lord, he was not actually back end of the snake, Vasuki, he was not actually churning. This is the first time that Ajita started churning and things started coming out. Things started coming out. So our Acharyas teach us that just as the ocean of milk was churned, we have to churn our consciousness with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the incarnation of Ajita in this age of Kali, which is Kali Kali Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar, Namaite Aya Sarva Jagat Nishtar. In this age of Kali, the incarnation of Ajita is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we churn the ocean of our consciousness, and they were trying to, Asuras and Devatas were trying to get the nectar. And what are we trying to get by churning the of our mind is Krishna Prem, the love of Krishna. That is what our Acharyas teach. Now, so the Lord is on the top, the Lord is at the bottom, the Lord is in the side as Ajita and also inside them, and churning is going on. So we have, everything is covered. So what comes out now? What should come out? Nectar or the Krishna Prem? No, nectar does not come. What does come first? First is Timingala. Timingala are the big whales that eat the smaller whales. Timingala comes, sharks comes, alligator comes, snakes come from the churning of the ocean. And our Acharyas explained that these are all the material desires that are within us. When we start chanting more and more, instead of getting the Krishna Prem, what we get first? All the material desires that are ignored. We ignore the material desires because we are chanting, so all that come up to try to disturb us. All these material desires come. And what did the Asuras and Devas do? They didn't stop with the material desires. They continue to start churning. And now the nectar should come, but not. What comes next? Diametrically opposite to what they were trying to get comes. Instead of nectar, poison came. Alahalar, Kalakuta, poison came. And when this poison, this is not a small poison. This is a poison that is spreading to all the three planetary systems. And Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu instructed the Devatas to go to Lord Shiva, to Kailash mountain. And it is said Lord Shiva is Paradukka Dukhi. Paradukka Dukhi means one who feels happy when others are happy, one who feels sad when others are sad. So he voluntarily takes this suffering for the benefit of others, which is said to be the highest form of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead or satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he has permission from Bhavani, his wife, and then he comes and he reduces this halala or kalakuta poison that is spreading to all the three planetary system into his palm, and he drinks that. And he has a blue line in his neck. That is the ornament of his sacrifice for drinking. And it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, few drops of this poison fell down, and the scorpions and cobras ate the leftover of this poison, and that's why they have the poison. And Prabhupada in his purport also says that dogs and the jackals and the mosquitoes also drank a little bit of this poison, so they have this poison. So he drinks this poison. And our Acharyas teach us that when we start chanting, all the material desires come first, and then we continue to chant, then we get this poison, which is the anarthas, which we heard in the beginning, which is lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion. Just like Lord Shiva took the poison on behalf of the Asuras and the Devas, our spiritual master will take away all our anarthas. That's what our Acharyas teach us. And the Devatas and the Asuras do not give up. They continue to chant. Still the nectar does not come. What comes next are the temptations. The temptations come. When we chant, all the temptation come. So here what came from the ocean of milk? First is Surabhi the cow. Surabhi the cow, wish-fulfilling cow. And the sages took it. They continued to chant. Second came Uchchaishrava, the horse, which is supposed to be the seven-headed horse, as beautiful, as white as the moon. They continued to chant. Third comes Airavata, the elephant, the beautiful elephant with 4 tusks. And the tusk was comparable to the glory of the Kailash mountain. They continued to churn the ocean of milk. Next comes 8 male elephants. And then next comes 8 female elephants. Abramu is leading that. And then comes, before Parijata, Kastuba jewel comes. Then comes Padmaraga jewel. Then comes Parijata, the celestial flowers. So all these wonderful temptations in a way, they come one by one, one by one. Then comes the Apsaras, the most beautiful women. They come from they manifested or appeared from the ocean of milk. And as the 10th thing that came from the ocean of milk was goddess of fortune. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, our Acharya, instructs us that it is not the goddess of fortune. The second form of goddess of fortune appeared, because goddess of fortune never leaves Narayan. But this is the second form of goddess of fortune who appeared. and then she married Mukunda. We mentioned that there are 4 other incarnations of the Lord. So, goddess of fortune marries Mukunda, and then they continue to churn the ocean of milk. Then finally, Dhanvantari, who's a plenary portion of the plenary portion of the Lord, brings this nectar, and immediately what happens? Who captures that? Asuras capture that. Asuras capture because they are more powerful. The Lord said use the snake and mouse logic, but then that was used by the Asuras, and they took this nectar and they were about to drink. And again the Lord helps them. Probably this is the 8th or 9th time the Lord helps them by appearing in this most beautiful form of Mohini Murti Avatar, the most beautiful women in the whole of universe, and he snatches or she snatches this pot of nectar from the Asuras and gives it to the Devatas, and then they drink that. So this is a fascinating pastime, and there are so many lessons to be learned here. So our Acharyas teach us that just like, as we mentioned, just like the Asuras and Devatas were churning this ocean of milk to get the nectar, we churn the ocean of our consciousness with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to get the pure love of God. And now where was this nectar? The nectar was not somewhere outside for the Devatas and Asuras to get it. It was there in the ocean of milk. But it had to be separated from every other thing so that just the nectar is taken out. Our Acharyas teach us that the love of God is within us. It does not have to come from anywhere else, but it has to be separated from those material desires, anarthas, from those temptations. Because it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Preme Sadhya Kabunai Shavanadi Suddha Siddha Khare Udaya. Pure love of God is always within us. It does not need to be obtained from any other outside source, but by hearing and chanting, all the anarthas and other unwanted things are removed, and what is left is pure love of God. So in the beginning we heard that hearing is the first form of 9 forms of devotional service, and now it is concluded by our Acharyas from the lessons to be learned from this particular pastime that by chanting we will be able to get the pure love of God, and chanting is the second form of 9 forms of devotional service. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said chanting is the most important of the 9 forms of devotional service, and just by chanting we'll be completing the 9 forms of devotional service. We are almost out of time, and it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kalir Dosha Nidhe Rajan Astiyeko Mahan Guna. So here it is said, even though this Kali Yuga is ocean of faults, the greatest thing we have is this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we can go back home, back to Godhead. And it is also said, Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar, as well as Nama Chintamani Krishna. There is no difference in the name of the Lord, form of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord that we are hearing today. And the Lord has appeared in this age of Kali in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hare Krishna. So we have a few more minutes. If you have any questions with regard to this particular wonderful pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam, or with regard to chanting of the holy name, or hearing the names of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, or glories of the Lord, we have our exalted Prabhu here. Prabhu will also help us in getting wonderful responses to the questions that you may have. Yes, ma'am.
What is the avatar of the Lord, the 1,000 arms, who were kept his hand on the...
So there is no name given in Srimad Bhagavatam to that particular incarnation of the Lord, but it is said it was an incarnation of the Lord with 1,000 arms, and that was pivotal in keeping this Mount Mandara in place because it was tipping over. Even though there was Kurma Avatar at the bottom, there was no support on the top. So it is said that this Lord, this incarnation of the Lord, was like a mountain, because the Lord had to be bigger than this 80,000 miles high to go there and hold it on top. But there is no specific name of the Lord given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, as you said, when we start chanting, the negativities come out first. So if there are now two situations, if we are initiated, that's taken by our spiritual master. If the second situation is if we are not initiated, then how do we deal with or still not initiated? How do we deal with that negativities?
So it's a wonderful question. In Padma Puran, so we heard that this wonderful verse, Damodarashtakam, is in Padma Puran, which is one of the 18 Puranas, which is for the people in the mode of goodness. And Prabhupada has quoted several verses from this Padma Puran. One is the 10 offenses against the holy name is also there in Padma Puran. And one of the verses that is there in Padma Puran is that when there are offenses, so these are 10 offenses that we should avoid against the holy name: to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated the life of propagation of the names of the Lord, to equate, to consider the names of demigods to be same as Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, or disobey the orders of the Supreme Spiritual Master. All these are different offenses to be avoided against the holy name. And it is said in Padma Puran that if we are committing any offenses against the holy name, the solution is to chant more of the holy names. So that is the solution that is given, whether we are initiated, whether we are non-initiated. Yes, the spiritual master does take whatever sins we are committed, that is what is said. But the solution for us for us committing offenses, or for any other offenses that we may commit, is to chant more of the holy names of the Lord. This is according to Padma Puran. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Would you please elaborate more on that snake and mouse logic?
Yeah. So the snake and mouse logic is given by Lord Vishnu himself to the Devatas. So it's a simple story where it is said that the snake and the mouse were caught in a basket. And snake cannot escape. The snake has food there, but the food is temporary. If he eats one mouse, he's going to be hungry again the next day, the following day, and he may die eventually inside the basket. He cannot get out. But who can find a way outside the basket? Only the mouse, because the mouse has got sharp teeth and he can make a hole in the basket and go. So the snake used the logic, the snake and the mouse logic, according to Lord Vishnu. This is fascinating. The Lord is instructing. So here it is said, the snake made a pact with this mouse and said, "My dear mouse, I'm not going to eat you. Make a hole in this basket. So when you make a hole in this basket, you will escape, and right behind you, I will escape. So both of us are gaining out of this. We'll do it collaboratively." But what happens in the end? As soon as the mouse made a hole, and when the mouse was about to go, the snake ate the mouse. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead instructed directly the Devatas that work together with the Asuras in churning the ocean of milk, but when you get the nectar, you will be eating that and they will be killed. So one more question, Prabhu. Yes.
We hear a lot about Lord Indra, very full of ego and pride, and as we just mentioned that he was intoxicated. I heard about Lord Govardhan also. He was full of pride and he showered.
Yeah.
But when we hear him as compared to Bali Maharaj, who was Asura. So for me, who is still very, I'll say, infancy stage in our spiritual life, I give more respect to Bali Maharaj than Lord Indra.
Mm-hmm.
But we always say Lord Indra is the demigod and Bali Maharaj is demon.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit confusion there.
Actually, it's a wonderful point that you brought about. Lord Indra, there are several pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam not only teaches us from these pastimes what to do, but what not to do as well. What to learn from these pastimes, and so that we don't do the mistakes or we don't repeat the mistakes that has been committed there. So Indra repeatedly makes so many mistakes. So Vritrasura's pastimes also, as you remember, he disobeyed the orders of his spiritual master Brihaspati, and he did not give him respect. So there are so many pastimes, but he's a very special devotee in that way, as you mentioned Govardhan Leela as well. But having said that, so we learn what not to do as well, even though they are great personalities. But you also mentioned about Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj is supposed to be a demon, but he's a very exalted demon, just like Vritrasura. In the 6th canto we read, when you read that pastime, it's such a fascinating pastime. Everybody wants Vritrasura to win, not Indra. We wanted Indra to lose. Such is the fascinating nature of Vritrasura. And Bali Maharaj, we mentioned the 9 forms of devotional service. The 9th form of devotional service is Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam means offering everything to the Lord. And who got perfection by offering everything? Was Bali Maharaj. You also have an example of Ambarish Maharaj who gave everything, but Bali Maharaj offered everything. Because his spiritual master Sukracharya said, I warn you, do not keep up your promise. He's already given the promise, yes, I'm going to give you 3 steps of land. But then Sukracharya said, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead coming in the guise of a dwarf Brahmin. Do not give him the 3 steps of land that you promised, because he'll take the entire universe. But he said, no, I have given the promise. And he said, Mother Earth can take the weight of all the buildings and seas and oceans and everything in this universe, all the downtown buildings in every city and all the cars and trucks. Mother Earth can carry all that, but not the weight of a liar. I have given my word that I am going to give the 3 steps of land, so be it, if it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and take. So the Lord took 2 steps, and he took, as you know, the 3 planetary systems, and the Lord said, you promised 3. And the 3rd step was placed on his head. So he not only gave, so I, me, myself is gone. So first he was thinking, you're just asking me for 3 steps of land. It's a sort of disgrace for me because I'm the greatest king here. You're just asking me 3, and I don't want you to go and beg some other land from someone else. So ask me for a land, ask me for a king, big planet I can give you. But he said a Brahmin should be happy with 3 steps of land. If you give me more, and I will not be happy with it. So he gave everything. He gave whatever he possessed. He gave everything, whatever he possessed, plus he gave himself as well. I, me, myself is gone. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. His Grace Ananda Gauranga Prabhu. We thank you, Prabhu and Mataji, for coming here, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here at ISKCON Brampton. And once again, let's give Prabhu and Mataji a big hand.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So you all know we have some exciting news which we've heard a few times, and we're getting closer to that date. We have about 2 weeks now before we move to our new location. Exciting times, a lot of stuff is going on. First of all, we wanted to thank all the devotees that have helped behind the scenes and actually in front with their contributions, with their efforts, their willingness to step up and complete some of the tasks that need to be done in order for us to make this move properly. So let me ask you, out of all the devotees that are sitting here today, including us, how many of us have moved recently within the last 5, 6, 7 years? Okay. And how many of us found it very, very easy to do? Not many, right?
Well done on the super class, Prabhu. Big hand. I can just picture Vasuki with that blazing fire coming out of his mouth, and all those demons next to Vasuki, trying to get prime position in life, and all get singed with this huge flames, and then all this thunder showers is coming down. Such a dark and ominous scene, eh? Like, you gotta see that photograph in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's scary stuff. But anyway, I just want to thank the board for being very kind to us by allowing us to conduct the Sri Upanishad class over the last few weeks. And I'd just like to call some of the attendees to comment on the realizations from this class. So, thank you, board members, for that. I'd like to...
Gaur Premanande.